of the Lord. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It is already explained that one may externally control the senses by some artificial process, but unless the senses are engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord, there is every chance of a fall. Although a person in full Krishna consciousness may apparently be on the sensual plane, because of his being Krishna conscious, he has no attachment to sensual activities. The Krishna conscious person is concerned only with the satisfaction of Krishna and nothing else. Therefore, he is transcendental to all attachment and detachment. If Krishna wants, the devotee can do anything which is ordinarily undesirable. And if Krishna does not want, he shall not do that which he would have ordinarily done for his own satisfaction. Therefore, to act or not to act is within his control because he acts only under the direction of Krishna. This consciousness is the causeless mercy of the Lord, which the devotee can achieve in spite of his being attached to the sensual platform. Text 65. Prashadesha vadukanam hani asyo pajayate prasana cheta suhyashu buddhi paryavatishtate. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. For one thus satisfied in Krishna consciousness, the threefold miseries of material existence exist no longer. In such satisfied consciousness, one's intelligence is soon well established. No purport. Text 66. Nasti buddhi ayutaksya, nacha yutasya bhavana, nacha bhavayata shanti, ashantasya kuta sukam. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. One who is not connected with the Supreme in Krishna consciousness can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Unless one is in Krishna consciousness, there is no possibility of peace. So it is confirmed in the 5th chapter, chapter 5, text 29, that when one understands that Krishna is the only enjoyer of all the good results of sacrifice and penance, that he is the proprietor of all universal manifestations, and that he is the real friend of all living entities, then only can one have real peace. Therefore, if one is not in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be a final goal for the mind. Disturbance is due to want of an ultimate goal. And when one is certain that Krishna is the enjoyer, proprietor, and friend of everyone and everything, then one can, with a steady mind, bring about peace. Therefore, one who is engaged without a relationship with Krishna is certainly always in distress and is without peace. However much he may make a show of peace and spiritual advancement in life. Krishna consciousness is a self-manifested peaceful condition which can be achieved only in relationship with Krishna. Text 67. Indriyanam hi charatam yanmano nuvidiyate tadasya harati pragyam vayu navam ivam hasi. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. As a strong wind sweeps away a boat on the water, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a man's intelligence. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Unless all of the senses are engaged in the service of the Lord, even one of them engaged in sense gratification can deviate the devotee from the path of transcendental advancement. As mentioned in the life of Maharaj Ambarish, all of the senses must be engaged in Krishna consciousness, for that is the correct technique for controlling the mind. Text 68. Tasmad yasya mahabaho nigritani nigri yeah, nigrihitani sarvasa India tevyas tasya pragya patistita. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, O mighty armed, one whose senses are restrained from their objects is certainly of steady intelligence. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. One can curb the forces of sense gratification only by means of Krishna consciousness or engaging all the senses in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. As enemies are curbed by superior force, the senses can similarly be curbed, not by any human endeavor, but only by keeping them engaged in the service of the Lord. One who has understood this, that only by Krishna consciousness is one really established in intelligence, and that one should practice this art under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, is called sadhaka, or a suitable candidate for liberation. Text 69. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam yasham jagati samya. Oh, what is it like that? Let me see. Hold on. Okay. All right. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagati samyami yasham jagati bhutani sa nisha pasyato mune. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-control. And the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. There are two classes of intelligent men. One is intelligent in material activities for sense gratification, and the other is introspective and awake to the cultivation of self-realization. Activities of the introspective sage or thoughtful man are night for persons materially absorbed. Materialistic persons remain asleep in such a night due to their ignorance of self-realization. The introspective sage remains alert in the night of the materialistic men. The sage feels transcendental pleasure in the gradual advancement of spiritual culture, whereas the man in materialistic activities, being asleep to self-realization, dreams of varieties of sense pleasure, feeling sometimes happy and sometimes distressed in the sleeping condition. The introspective man is always indifferent to materialistic happiness and distress. He goes on with his self-realization activities undisturbed by material reactions. Text 70. Apuya manam achala. Okay. Oh, no. Say Apuya manam achala pratistam samudram apa pabhishanti yadvad tadvad kama yan pabhishanti sarve sasantim apnuti nakama kami. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled, but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. Purport by Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Although the vast ocean is always filled with water, it is always, especially during the rainy season, being filled with much more water. But the ocean remains the same, steady. It is not agitated, nor does it cross beyond the limit of its brink. That is also true of a person fixed in Krishna consciousness. As long as one has the material body, the demands of the body for sense gratification will continue. The devotee, however, is not disturbed by such desires because of his fullness. A Krishna conscious man is not in need of anything because the Lord fulfills all his material necessities. Therefore, he is like the ocean, always full in himself. Desires may come to him like the waters of the rivers that flow into the ocean, but he is steady in his activities, and he is not even slightly disturbed by desires for sense gratification. That is the proof of a Krishna conscious man, one who has lost all inclinations for material sense gratification, although the desires are present. Because he remains satisfied in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, he can remain steady like the ocean and therefore enjoy full peace. Others, however, who want to fulfill desires even up to the limit of liberation, what to speak of material success, never attain peace. The fruitive workers, the salvationists, and also the yogis who are after mystic power are all unhappy because of unfulfilled desires. But the person in Krishna consciousness is happy in the service of the Lord, and he has no desires to be fulfilled. In fact, he does not even desire liberation from the so-called material bondage. The devotees of Krishna have no material desires, and therefore they are in perfect peace. Text 71. Vihaya kamanya sarvan, puman sharati nishpriham, nemamo nirahankara, sashantim adigaschati. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. A person who has given up all desires for sense gratification, who lives free from desires, who has given up all sense of proprietorship, and is devoid of false ego, he alone can attain real peace. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. To become desireless means not to desire anything for sense gratification. In other words, desire for becoming Krishna conscious is actually desirelessness. To understand one's actual position as the eternal servitor of Krishna without falsely claiming this material body to be oneself and without falsely claiming proprietorship over anything in the world is the perfect stage of Krishna consciousness. One who is situated in this perfect stage knows that because Krishna is the proprietor of everything, everything must be used for the satisfaction of Krishna. Arjuna did not want to fight for his own sense gratification, but when he became fully Krishna conscious, he fought because Krishna wanted him to fight. For himself, there was no desire to fight. But for Krishna, the same Arjuna fought to his best ability. Real desirelessness is desire for the satisfaction of Krishna, not an artificial attempt to abolish desires. The living entity cannot be desireless or senseless, but he does have to change the quality of the desires. A materially desireless person certainly knows that everything belongs to Krishna. Ishavasham idam sarvam. It's Upanishad Mantra 1. And therefore, he does not falsely claim proprietorship over anything. This transcendental knowledge is based on self-realization, namely knowing perfectly well that every living entity is an eternal part and parcel of Krishna in spiritual identity, and that the eternal position of the living entity is therefore never on the level of Krishna or greater than him. This understanding of Krishna consciousness is the basic principle of real peace. Text 72. Esha Brahmi Stiti Parta Nainan Prapya Vimuhyati Sivasham Antikalepi Brahma Nirvanam Richati. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. That is the way of the spiritual and godly life, after attaining which a man is not bewildered. If one is thus situated, even at the hour of death, one can enter into the kingdom of God. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. One can attain Krishna consciousness or divine life at once, within a second, or one may not attain such a state of life even after millions of births. It is only a matter of understanding and accepting the fact. Katvanga Maharaj attained this stage of life just a few minutes before his death by surrendering unto Krishna. Nirvana means ending the process of materialistic life. According to Buddhist philosophy, there is only void after the completion of this material life, but Bhagavad-Gita teaches differently. Actually, life begins after the completion of this material life. For the gross materialist, it is sufficient to know that one has to end this materialistic way of life. But for persons who are spiritually advanced, there is another life after this materialistic life. Before ending this life, if one fortunately becomes Krishna conscious, he at once attains the stage of Brahma Nirvana. There is no difference between the kingdom of God and the devotional service of the Lord. Since both of them are on the absolute plane, to be engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord is to have attained the spiritual kingdom. In the material world, there are activities of sense gratification, whereas in the spiritual world, there are activities of Krishna consciousness. Attainment of Krishna consciousness, even during this life, is immediate attainment of Brahman. And one who is situated in Krishna consciousness has certainly entered into the kingdom of God. Brahman is just the opposite of matter. Therefore, Brahmi Sthiti means not on the platform of material activities. Devotional service of the Lord is accepted in the Bhagavad-Gita as the liberated sage. Sagunan samayitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Therefore, Brahmi Sthiti is liberation from material bondage. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, excuse me, shut that thing off. Good. Sorry for the interruption. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has summarized the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita as being the contents for the whole text. In the Bhagavad Gita, the subject matters are Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. In the second chapter, Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga have been clearly discussed. And a glimpse of Bhakti Yoga has also been given as the contents for the complete text. Well, we go to chapter 3, and there's 1 minute before your typical 5:20. So what should we do? Continue or stop for 1 minute? Well, I should end it. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purpose in the second chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of its contents. Okay, now what do we do? End it?
I think we stop here, Pariksit. Prabhu.
Okay, I would think so too.
Yeah. We always run short in time for questions. So give us another minute to have discussion. A good point of stopping.
Okay, great. So now everybody can teach me what to do.
So at this point, if anybody has any questions, comments, if you would like to type them in the chat or raise your hand.
Okay.
Hear from you. Pariksit Prabhu can speak to your questions.
Okay. All right. It was so wonderful, Prabhu. It was really, really good.
Krishna's mercy. I was enjoying myself. You probably could tell. Yeah, it's really,
God, it was wonderful. So I have a question. My question is that Arjuna, Arjuna's plight was pretty difficult. He didn't want to fight, and Krishna told him to use the resolve was through intelligence to come to the point, by use of intelligence to come to the point of surrendering in Krishna consciousness or being Krishna conscious. So Arjuna had Krishna, and that was so nicely laid out. But our plight as those trying to hear the Bhagavad Gita, trying to live the Bhagavad Gita, and the environment that we're in this atmosphere, how do we come to the point of utilizing our intelligence to bring us to the point of being Krishna conscious or surrendering to Krishna?
Wonderful question. We're in trouble, right? It's always that we're already in trouble. But anyway, no. Srila Prabhupada is giving so much mercy. So you talked about Arjuna, for example. And as soon as you started talking about Arjuna, I remembered a lecture that Srila Prabhupada gave on that point. And I've read it quite a few times in my car. So now here's what Srila Prabhupada, how he addressed it. Srila Prabhupada said, Arjuna is a very mild and pure devotee of the Lord. Even though he's Shakti, ordinarily, he doesn't like to harm anybody. Ordinarily. So that's why in the beginning, he was complaining about having to kill all those people. And he was trying to come up with material reasons. So we'll get to that point when you're just talking about how to use our intelligence to actually do better. Now, Arjuna, so he's a great example of what we really should be when our hearts are pure. But then when Krishna explained everything, and then he said in 1863, well, I've told you everything, deliberate on it, and then tell what you're going to do. Arjuna had listened to everything, asked all his questions. Krishna has answered them wonderfully. So then this calm guy that he says, yes, I'll fight. So then the point Srila Prabhupada was making is, we can do whatever we normally do, even in the mode of goodness, right? For just regular material life. And we will be careful in that stage not to harm anybody. Non-violence. But when Krishna says do something, it doesn't matter whether, if he says do it, they do it. So then Srila Prabhupada says, Arjuna ordinarily wouldn't fight, but because Krishna says to fight, or for that matter, all the bodies, they fight. So our point is, when Guru has told you what to do, you follow Guru's instructions. That's all there is to that. If we do something different or try to figure it out on our own, that's when we get lost, because we cannot speculate. And Krishna comes and says, we're going to get killed. It doesn't work that way. We depend totally. We cannot have a big false ego and say, I know everything. You're in trouble already. So you just be cool. Prabhupada said, you do. Prabhupada's disciple said, you do. Like that. Senior devotee says, you do. And everything, of course, those who are preaching, Prabhupada also says, you can be Shiksha Guru. Anyone can be Shiksha Guru as long as they don't contaminate anything in the Shastra when they speak. Speak exactly according to what is there. Then you're fine. So for the speaker, it should be like that. And for the listener, they tell you and you do. Then you're not in trouble. Hare Krishna. Krishna's mercy. Anyway, that's for my purification, though. I'm the first one that needs to hear this. Go ahead. Anyway.
Good.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? Mother Renika, you have your hand up.
Thank you. Fridays are usually very stressful days of the week for me, and today was a little bit more stressful. So this session is definitely a stress buster. Thank you for doing this. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So my question is, I was going through the text as you were reading it. It said introspective sages, they remain alert during the night, so they don't sleep like normal people.
That's the question? Okay, wonderful question. All right. Now, what really it means is the devotee and the non-devotee, they live opposite life. When the devotee is awake, the non-devotee says, don't bother me, it's my best time of sleeping. When the devotee is asleep, then the non-devotee is awake. So see, at 1 o'clock in the morning, when the non-devotee is partying, the pujari is asleep because he got to wake up at 3 o'clock. But then if a pujari wakes up at 3 o'clock and you wake a kami guy at 3 o'clock, it's going to say, you're disturbing my sleep. This is the best time of the day. So basically, the life that we live, a non-devotee is going through the modes, especially the mode of passion, the mode of ignorance, even in sleep times. And the person that is a devotee, he goes by going to bed early and getting up at the Brahma Muhurta hour. So a devotee is fixed that way. And so a person that lives that way is what we call an introspective sage. They are aware of what Krishna wants, and they incorporate that type of everything, the instructions, in their lives. So that's what Srila Prabhupada is trying to get us to be like, as devotees, literally live like an introspective sage. But it takes some time, so we work at it, and we get help from senior devotees and guru and so on, and we'll be like that also. But Everybody outside of that is living a life basically of passion and ignorance. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So can I conclude that
absolutely continue? Yes.
No, can I conclude that the nocturnal activities of a devotee and non-devotee are like opposite?
You not to understand. Very good question. Very good question. One devotee can be doing something. Another non-devotee can be doing the same thing. Even if nocturnal activities, a devotee at night and a non-devotee at night, they may be doing even the same thing, but the consciousness is different. And so Papa gave the example. Arjuna was fighting Kshatriya with arrows. Duryodhana was fighting another Kshatriya with arrows. Same time. Same Kurukshetra war. But what was the motivation of Arjuna? Fighting for Krishna. What was the motivation of Duryodhana? Fighting for his false ego, for material. So Arjuna was fighting for spiritual. Duryodhana was fighting for material for himself. So even at times when devotees and non-devotees are doing the same thing, if the consciousness is devotees I'm doing for Krishna, non-devotees I'm doing it for Maya or for myself, well, then that's where the difference is, even though they're doing the same thing at the same time. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Krishna's mercy. Jai. Srila Prabhupada's mercy.
We have a comment from Bhakta Bob.
Okay.
Or question. Bob, you may have to jump in. I don't know if I'll get this correctly here. It says, it's the modes in which we execute the task, correct?
It's the modes with which we execute the task. The answer is, yeah, pretty much. You said the modes. Okay, so mostly it's mode of goodness. If we execute the task, devotees in the mode of goodness, and pious people also do things in the mode of goodness, that's okay. But, I was kind of a little hesitant because the distinction is this. A good person can do acts in the mode of goodness, but a devotee does acts in mode of purified goodness. That's the difference. Goodness by a karmi person, a non-devotee, can have a tinge of passion and ignorance in it. But goodness by a devotee, at the very least, a pure devotee will have no passion or ignorance in it. And those of us that are trying, at least we try to get there, chant and do all things, get it a little more purified. So that's the situation we're in. So yes, it's the mode in which we execute the task. Then if we do something for ourselves, thinking of ourselves for selfishness, that's mode of passion. And then for ignorance, it's horrible. We do things bad to ourselves. We do things bad to other people. Now, how do you do things bad to yourself? Well, you do things that hurt your physical body. You're not supposed to drink. You drink, it messes up your body. You smoke, it messes up your body. You eat abominable foods, it messes up your body. But you're doing it anyway. That's hurting your own self. But when you hurt other people, that's obvious. When you're violent, it's all kinds of things, hurting people in so many, I don't have to give examples. Hurt other people. That's also in the mode of ignorance. So hurting yourself or hurting other people, mode of ignorance. Turning things around. What's spiritual? Doing the opposite of spiritual. That's mode of ignorance. Or doing things that just because you're so lusty and want things for yourself, that's mode of passion. The rest is goodness. But a devotee does purified goodness without any passion or ignorance in it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I've seen another chat. Okay, yeah, okay.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. You did a good
Hare
job.
Krishna.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Krishna's mercy.
Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai. Thank you for the service.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Jai. Go Srila Prabhupada.
I'm hoping everybody's experiencing how wonderful these purports are as we're going through them so succinctly. They're just so packed with rich understanding and realization.
Boy, each one of them could have lasted a long time to talk about, literally. So much was there. Hare Krishna. I agree fully with you, 100%.
Pariksit Prabhu, thank you for leading us in this session today.
Krishna's mercy. Jai.
And I wanted to invite all the devotees out there to our Sunday program, because during the program, we have special presentations, hour-long presentations. I know sometimes on these Wednesday, Friday sessions, we get to the we get to a point and we want to get more, but then, time is up. We have a little bit more time, and they're designed to take a topic within the Bhagavad Gita, elaborate on it. So a lot of your questions, if you want to go a little further and deeper, these Sunday sessions are very powerful.
What time, Prabhu? I don't even know. What time?
So 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock is their Sunday,
okay.
their Sunday feast class. And this Sunday we have a Charter Prabhu, who will be speaking on the nature of devotional service. Last weekend we heard about the nature of the soul from Ramcharan Prabhu. This weekend about the nature of devotional service. So please come for that if you can, devotees, and you really feel again the mood of Srila Prabhupada, the mood of the Bhagavad Gita, as we learn together as a group and advance in Krishna consciousness.
Right.
We hope everybody
I'll try to come.
Well, I know you have your program in Harrisburg as well.
Yeah, I know. So we'll try to juggle and see what happens.
But for all the devotees out there, we definitely encourage your participation as we grow together in consciousness. Also, tomorrow morning, we have a Japa Reform class in the morning at 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And every morning we have Srimad Bhagavatam class, 7:50 to 8:30 as well. So anyway, we hope we all have a wonderful weekend, and we hope to see you at our various programs throughout the weekend. If not, we'll see you at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, go to the Prabhupada.
Jai Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Patitanam Pavanebhyo.
Thank you, Pariksit.
Hare Krishna. Jai. Type message next time. Hare Krishna.